Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Crossing extra-dimensional spaces. There have been many reports of visitors from elsewhere dropping in on this island Earth from time to time. In 1954, the Japanese authorities detained a man trying to enter the country with a passport that revealed he was from an unheard country named Taured. A thorough check was made by the customs officials to see if there was such a place anywhere on Earth, but they drew a blank. The stranger refused to throw light on the whereabouts of the mysterious nation of Taured and quickly left Japan. A similar incident occurred in 1851 when a man calling himself Josef Voren was found wandering in the German village of Frankfurt an der Oder. When the German authorities asked the man where he was from, Voren told them that he was from Laxaria, a country on the continent of Sakria. This baffled the authorities because neither of the places existed anywhere on their map of the world. In 1905, a young man who was arrested in Paris for stealing a loaf was found to speak an unknown language, and after a lengthy interrogation session, the man managed to convey that he was from a place called Lisbia. Thinking he meant Lisbon, the man was shown a map of Portugal, and a Portuguese interpreter was brought in to talk to the young offender, but it was soon established that the man was not from Lisbon. The language the youth spoke was not an invented babble either. It had all the consistent syntactic rules of a language similar to Esperanto. Eventually, the strange-speaking man was released, never to be seen again. The great student of the unexplained, Charles Fort, once commented on the subject of visitors from other planets. If there have ever been instances of teleportations of human beings from somewhere else to this Earth, an examination of infirmaries and workhouses and asylums might lead to some marvelous disclosures. One of the best documented reports of a possible visitant from another world landing on Earth came from the little French town of Alençon, which is situated about 30 miles north of Le Mans. The town is nowadays solely famous because of its fine lace, but over 200 years ago, Alençon became renowned for something much less mundane that occurred within its vicinity. At around 5 a.m. on June 12, 1790, peasants watched in awe as a huge metal sphere descended from the sky, moving with a strange undulating motion. The globe crash-landed onto a hilltop, and the violent impact threw up soil and vegetation which showered the hillside. The hull of the globe was so hot, possibly from a rocket motor or because of the rapid descent through the atmosphere, that it ignited the surrounding dry flora, and a grass fire quickly broke out. The peasants rushed up the hill carrying pails of water, and within a short time, the fires were extinguished. A large crowd encircled the crashed globe, and some of the more adventurous people present stepped forward to touch the hull of the unearthly craft to discover that it was quite warm. A physician, 2 mayors from nearby towns, and a number of officials turned up to see what had descended from the morning sky, and these important witnesses arrived just in time to see something sensational. A hatch of some sort slid open in the lower hemisphere of the globe, and a man in an outlandish, tight-fitting costume emerged through the hatchway and surveyed the observers with an apprehensive look. He started mumbling something in a strange language and gestured for the crowd to get away from him and his vehicle. A few people stepped back, and the man ran through the break in the circle of spectators and fled into the local woods. Some of the peasants ran away from the globe, sensing that something dangerous was about to happen. The remainder of the crowd decided to follow suit, and seconds after the last members of the multitude had retreated from the sphere, it exploded with a peculiar muffled sound, creating a miniature mushroom-shaped cloud. The debris from the craft sizzled in the grass and gradually turned to powder. A police inspector named Lia Boeuf traveled over 100 miles from Paris to investigate the crash, and he quizzed many of the witnesses, including the mayors and physician who had been present at the strange spectacle. The inspector organized a thorough search of the woods where the oddly dressed man had taken refuge, but the hunt resulted in nothing. Their stranger seemed to have vanished as mysteriously as he had arrived. In the report to his superiors, Inspector Lia Boeuf put forward the suggestion that the man who had landed in the globe could have been a being from another world, but the high-ups in Paris dismissed the intimation as a ludicrous idea.
So /x/ this may sound insane to you, but I think I traveled into another universe this one. I wanted to travel back in time for reasons, and I found an old spell on, well, the internet. At first I didn't see any change after the spell. I was still in my basement. Everything was the same. I wasn't really surprised. Magic always seemed like bullshit to me. Just thought it was worth a try. However, I noticed something. The world around me changed slightly. The people I know and call friends are still my friends. My family is still my family, but they all act differently. They changed their characters. They are not the same. I am 100% sure that my best friend isn't really my best friend. For example, every time we met, he said a specific sentence before everything else. Now he doesn't do this anymore. In fact, when I asked him about this, he said he can't remember ever having said that sentence. He could be easily trying to trick me, right? Thought that too. But there is more. When we were swimming, I noticed that the scar on his back, car accident, wasn't there. When I asked him about it, he said he never had a car accident and thought I was crazy trying to prank him. I asked a few detailed questions to other people. It's the details that changed. My dog, he doesn't wait for me at the right side of the door when I come back like he always did. No, he lies on the sofa. He never did. A few of my books are gone, and others which I have never seen before are on my bookshelf. The color of the house next to my workplace, it changed its color. Its walls are no longer gray, they are brown. I look at this damn house for like 8 hours a day. I can see it through the window, and I am sure that it was gray. Last but not least, the smell. The smell of the air, it's different. I live in a big town, it has always been full of smog, etc. But that's not what I mean. It's more metallic. I have no idea how to explain that, but it's not what it used to be. It took me a few weeks to completely realize that, but now I can't get it out of my head. I see the change. I see the wrong details. The guy who sells me my coffee every day gives me the wrong coffee when I ask him for my standard one, claiming I always bought this. I don't drink dark coffee. I have always bought coffee with milk and sugar. When I went back to my basement to do the ritual again, the stuff I did it with was gone, and I can't find the website anymore. It seems to be gone. It's like I never did the spell, but I need to go back. How/x/ can anyone help me? TLDR. Trapped in a wrong universe, how do I get back?
I have seen this before. The only way back to the original universe is to truly come to terms with this one. But that isn't all. You see, you didn't travel. You switched places. With yourself. Until you come to terms with this universe, and the version of you that you swapped with comes to terms with that universe, you cannot leave. Sounds great, right? It's not. Most people can't handle being in another universe, and there is no way to be certain that the other you will come to terms or break down. You can only hope. I've seen this work for people before, but almost always, it fails.
How would I get in terms with this universe? It's driving me crazy.
Seems to me like it's not that different of a universe, so it shouldn't be too difficult. Come to terms the same way you would by coming to terms with your original life. Just live, make the most of it. You must understand, being a conscious observer, you create your own universe. Every decision, every second, every change creates an alternate reality. It is infinite. Meditate on returning to your past universe. You don't really need rituals. Rituals are just aids to help you achieve an effect that already exists. It won't be obvious. It will be subtle, just like your transfer to this universe. Focus on navigating through the infinite change that is reality. When you return to your universe, you probably won't even notice as it has already changed since you left. Nothing ever stays the same.
Proof I'm from another dimension. I don't know how I ended up here in this one, but it sucks compared to mine. I have this old yearbook. This was my hoodie. Where I came from, it was very popular. The good had ears on it, and on the back it had a tail. It says, "Mice, mice, baby." Good luck finding it. It never existed in your universe. I've long since lost it, but when I went to go looking for it, Delia's etc. did not have it ever listed. In fact, Delia's magazine where I'm from is an Outfitters, not a Teen Vogue magazine. A lot is similar to where I'm from here, but there's so many differences and it's beginning to drive me insane. Curious George has a tail and hangs from it where I'm from, but yours doesn't have a tail.
A lot of movies are different. Back to the Future where I'm from, the license plate says out of time, here it says out of time. I just stopped watching TV as it drives me crazy. I'm my dimension, it's pour your sugar on me in the name of love. Here it's pour some sugar on me. Your version makes no sense. My version is about the act of making love. Yours is just impersonal. What really gets me though is this hoodie. I know I had it, my mother got it for me for a Christmas. Here she doesn't remember it. I was wearing the hoodie when I made the jump. Here I am wearing it to school for a yearbook photo. Also, where I'm from, we didn't bring Christmas trees inside. It's in the Bible not to bring the fir tree into the house. It's really bad, like taboo almost. Seen as a disaster or really bad luck to do. Like breaking a mirror here. That was never a superstition where I'm from, by the way. Oh, and it's Berenstain Bears here. It's Berenstain with an A, which makes no sense, one iota. Stein like the Nobel Prize. Here the person accredited was Emil Adolf von Behring, Dr. Robert Stein, who cured diphtheria in 1901. In my original plane, Dr. Robert Stein was accredited for curing diphtheria, measles, mumps, rubella. Here you just infect your kids with dying versions. In my dimension, viruses aren't a thing like they are here. HIV is as curable as any bacterial infection. Here you think it's incurable. All we did was map the mitochondria of the virus and made it like a vaccine. This way, if it mutated, your body would still know how to fight it. Everybody here laughs differently, and all the voices sound like a higher pitch. Where I'm from, we filtered the end of our tailpipes with Gesser air filters, which aren't a thing here. It's so weird not seeing them in any car. They are cone-shaped and filtered out emissions. Here you have something called a catalytic converter. How the fuck do you clean it out? Seems like an unneeded expense just to inflate cars' expenses. Greed here is way more than what I'm used to. Little things breaking that shouldn't only push buying more of this useless thing. Storms here are more powerful, but they seem way more predictable. Where I'm from, we would get layers of ice. It would gently sit on top of grass, and it was a common occurrence. It would cut my shins up constantly playing in it as a child. I still have the scars. Picture of the scar. Faded a bit since childhood. Also, the air is super thin here and hard to breathe. I'm used to a higher oxygen content. Also, the placement of Earth here is closer to the center of the galaxy for some reason. This one blows my mind. Where I'm from, you can see the dome shape of the galaxy. Here you can't. Here the Bible says the wolf shall lie down with the lamb. Where I'm from, it's lion, not wolf. Other things that seem different to me. Food here is better tasting. I'm actually happy with this change. I'm not exactly sure when I passed through. I remember 9/11, so it may have been even before then. I began to take notice when I was going through old photos of mine and I tried to buy that hoodie. Was the moon landing faked here? Why do people think the world is flat here? That mindset is a thing of history where I'm from, but here people still believe that nonsense. We had HD VHS that went up to 1080p. Then DV VHS, this would have been 4K. We never went with disc formats. Y'all started with laser discs, we never had that. Everything was on magnetic tape. Computers had tape drives instead of CD and DVD. They used faster reading heads, which meant installing software went as fast as the motor could spin a tape. Floppies never died out, they just got bigger, like 3.5-inch drives got up to like 5 GB, possibly bigger now. We had LCD screens way sooner though. Here people held on to and perfected tube screens. I'm surprised they even died out here. Looking at how y'all perfected color reproduction on them, why change? It's little shit like this that I notice and go, huh, that's odd. I never noticed until I looked. Like muffler filters not being a user replaceable thing. This one is so weird. I remember being pulled over if mine fell off. I sincerely want to go home, but I'm okay if I gotta stay. It's not that much different to destroy my life, but I'm wondering when it happened exactly.
6 years ago, my wife tried to kill me. I remember her sitting on me, jamming a whittling knife in my throat. I managed to push her off, and then I blacked out. I saw a vast desert of purple sand, stars brighter than I've ever seen. Off in the distance, there are ruins of an ancient city. I walked for days, and it never got any closer. I remember the smell of the sand, the sound of the wind, and a warmth that didn't seem to come from anywhere. There's another feeling that I can't really describe, a weird familiarity. I woke up in the hospital, spent some time in a mental health facility, and went home and rebuilt my life. But every time I sleep, I wake up back in the desert, like I never left. Every single night. I don't know what to make of it, but it feels important.
You might be onto something. About 10 years back, I got something like the flu, but it was bad. I was delirious and didn't know who I was at one point. I was in excruciating pain 24/7 from the aches. I actually wished I had no limbs so that they would stop hurting. Unlike the third night, one of the times I blacked out, I had a dream that felt more real than anything I have ever experienced. There was an ultra-massive desert somewhat similar to what you describe. Only in mine, there was a massive battle going on that involved millions of people. Every manner of weapon you would imagine, every race and creed was there. All fighting over the desert. All willing to commit mass murder to claim it. There was music that got louder and louder as the battle became more violent. I spent what felt like 12 to 15 hours there. I woke up again, but it was bizarre. Not like waking from a dream at all. I felt fuzzy, headed in the desert dream, and kind of faded from that place into darkness. This felt relieving to me. I then woke up back in reality from there, only it was like I went from the blackness to being fully conscious instantly. It had been about 6 hours since I fell asleep. I shrugged it off as a fever dream, but never experienced anything like it before or since then, and it disturbs me to think about it as well.
I've never seen anyone else in the desert.
I think it's so massive that if you were in the right place, you wouldn't. Like, it's so huge that it seems totally endless, right? Well, what if it really is endless? You could walk for years and never see anyone. That's what it felt like. The battle felt minuscule compared to the desert. But I tried to escape from it the whole time and never saw an ending to it. The desert felt tongue to me that even massive things were tiny within it. What I think is this. What if you enter it at random points whenever you visit? Every time you visit, it's a place potentially miles away from anyone. That time I visited, I dropped into a war zone. I'm not saying our experiences are definitely the same thing, but it's too similar for me to ignore. And I haven't thought about it in years, so this is freaking me out a bit. I felt like the desert itself was quite pleasant in a way. It was warm, but not hot, and it felt comforting to be there. It was all the people trying to kill each other that freaks me out. It was like seeing every living person in an entire nation march on another, and a bloodbath unlike anything I had previously considered ensued. Yet strangely, the desert remained pleasant somehow. Did you ever try anything there? Other than moving around normally, I mean. Like I was able to fly after a few hours when I was in mine. Which was weird in its own right because the sky, while safe from the battle, felt distant, cold, and unwelcoming.
Give more detail. You say you walked for days, but what else did you do? What were your thoughts like? Did you get hungry or thirsty? Did you need to relieve yourself? Did you sleep? Did you cry out for help? For God? Did you sense any kind of presence around you? You see, you say you walked for days, yet your story has very little detail. But that's a long time to contemplate things. Like even the ruins, or the stars. You can't draw or describe in more detail what they looked like?
Climb the rocks, walk, run, lay down in the sand and wait, jump from the dunes and rocks. That's pretty much it. No hunger or thirst, and I never got tired. I have tried screaming, but it just sounds normal. And no presence. In fact, I always feel astoundingly alone. The ruins are far, but the buildings look big. Not much detail to be gleaned from it. The buildings are gray and rectangular. The desert is empty. Sure, I contemplate where I am while I'm there, but it's not like I've ever found answers. The stars are beautiful. One of the best parts of it. I often just lay in the sand and look at the sky. The stars are brighter and more numerous than our sky. None of the normal constellations.
Hey, Anon, I had an idea. You mentioned walking towards the city but never making progress. And you also talked about how you wake up there every night. Try walking away from the city instead this time. Maybe through some contrivance trying to create distance between you and the city will close the distance, such as how trying to close distance by walking towards it has borne no fruit. If it happens every night, there's nothing to lose in trying it out.
When I walk in a different direction, the city doesn't move, but I can still see it from any point where the horizon is visible.
For a long time now, I've seen things. I call them that only because I honestly, truly don't know what they are. I don't have schizophrenia or floaters in my eye, but I regularly notice lights, shadows, and even creatures that shouldn't be in our world. I've discovered the more I explain, the more I learn. The theory I've come up with is that I see them with my third eye, which must be flickering on and off. The creatures I see are from another dimension, and the lights and shadows are manifestations of energy produced by situations that occur on Earth. I can't give specifics only because I do not have them. The best way to explain what I see, effectively, is to remember what it's like to wake up and know you had a dream, but not remember what it was. For split seconds at a time, I'll see grey shadows that run across the floor. If I look around, I'll notice shapes hiding and playing with one another, whether that be on rooftops, above the tree line, on balconies, or just beside the street. I've discovered that goldish-white orbs are human spirits, or something that has an identity of its own, whereas colored lights like blue, green, and yellow are produced from strong emotions. I guess I came here to see if anyone else sees the same. I've looked and looked and looked, and still can't find anything similar to what I experience. I can't be the only one.
I have spent 5 years as a fish, and I am now an incel, and I hate you all. I will try to summarize to the best of my ability. 12 years ago, I went on to 4chan to see if it was actually a good site. I clicked through random boards, most of them were shit. At that time, I was basically a normie. Maybe a bit less than a normie, I guess. After a while of surfing through boards, I decided that the site was kinda cool and started frequenting Bant and R9K. And after a few months, I decided to go on /x/. Technically, I had been on here before then, but I thought it was boring at first. And over the course of a few weeks, I started to really love this board. I would tell my friends about it, but in retrospect, I think they thought I was kinda weird and cringe. Most of the time, I lurked on here, maybe made a few comments. But I found this one thread where someone shared an experience they had where they were able to see other planets with their mind and teleport to places through their subconscious. I can't remember what it's called, but I think it's kind of popular. I became really intrigued and posted about it, asking for advice on doing this. After further studying and skimming through an online book, I tried to do it, but it didn't work at first. I gave up but retried later and went through an experience that I cannot really describe. But it was blissful, and I was obtaining and surfing through really interesting knowledge that I don't even remember most of now, but I remembered that this wasn't what I intended on doing, so I tried thinking and delving further into this experience. The state I was in was four-dimensional. The concept of surfing popped into my head a lot, so I continued thinking about it. That developed into thinking about water, and then the ocean, and then fish. Time wasn't a thing in this dimension, so I don't know how long it was, but it was probably all night in our world. Anyways, I felt some sort of merging occur, although things and time and so forth weren't a thing in this world. There was some indescribable process occurring that pushed these things together. Most of the time it was great, but I started feeling extreme dread, worse than anything anyone else has ever experienced, but it was too late, and it started, and I lost consciousness. I woke up feeling like I was in a dream. I was in a completely different place, and there was this really weird feeling all around my body. I couldn't feel my legs, and my arms felt like they were mostly cut off. There was no pain, though. And then I started remembering what happened the night before and looked around, thinking I was still in that state somehow. And then I looked behind me and saw what I thought was a car-sized fish, but I looked at myself and saw the same thing. I was really confused, thought I was on acid somehow. I swam with my mom and siblings, and after a while we settled in this one spot and went to sleep. I woke up and my family was missing, and I saw sharks in the distance and swam away. After that happened, I experienced extreme anger and denial, realizing what had happened, and then sadness, and after a few weeks I coped with it mostly, but I had no idea how to be around other fish and became very alone and sad again. After like a year and a half, I became completely mature and tried to find a mate, but that failed. It was also extremely terrifying, constantly having to hide from giant predators. It was worse because not only was everything around you like for humans, but in the ocean you also had to look up and down. But I would settle in safer places and it became easier to deal with. But I still desperately wanted to be human again, and throughout everything I was deeply confused. At one point I met a female fish and we mated. I still love her to this day. I loved her more than I ever loved any human and started accepting living as a fish. But some fucking bigger fish ate her one day. I saw it happen. I lost any hope I had, all joy, and just felt tired. I regretted ever going on 4chan. I wished I could start everything over again. I gave up with life and purposefully tried to find a shark to off myself. I found one and swam towards it. It ate me and I again lost consciousness. And it felt the same way it did when I became a fish. I went into the same dimension, only this time it was hellish instead of blissful. But I got out and woke up. I was on a hospital bed and a nurse went into the room because my heart rate increased. They told me that 5 years before then I passed out and had brain injuries. My mom, dad, and brother went there and were very happy. I just felt confused and somewhat angry. I asked why my other brother wasn't there, and they said that he died in an accident 3 years ago. I went home and things went kinda back to normal, except I was really awkward around people and was still grieving my beloved. I am crying as I type this part. After 2 years I got a job at Home Depot, and by this time I got diagnosed with autism. There was another woman there who was a beautiful redhead who reminded me of the fish whom I loved. She was also extremely awkward and also knew a lot about fish. We started hanging out at lunch and then after work. And then we would be around each other a lot and kissed each other in the forest. After 3 years, she revealed to me that she once went into a deeply meditative state and woke up as a fish and found a lover, but that she died. That is when I found out that she truly was the fish that I had loved and told her. You know how veterans feel a sense of brotherhood with other veterans and easily become friends with them? Our love was like that, but infinitely better. After a year, we were driving on the way to go to 7-Eleven and then the forest. But I crashed and lost my consciousness again. I woke up on the ground, seeing the wrecked car and a bunch of medics everywhere. I asked where my girlfriend was. A medic paused and stared at me, looking like he was trying to say something. I asked him again and he told me that she didn't survive. There was a really strong feeling in my chest and I couldn't control my muscles. I fell, and after a minute I started sobbing and screaming incoherently. Again, I cannot describe the feeling I had. If you have ever experienced loss, you would know like 0.1% of what I felt. I couldn't sleep for 5 days, but then I fell asleep for 35 hours. Weeks and then months passed, and then 2 years passed. I still feel the same. My parents kicked me out a year ago, so I have either been couch surfing or homeless. I got a job once, but quit the same day it reminded me of her. Fuck this board. Fuck all of you. I lost everything. I could have lived a good life. I was going to go to college. I had friends. 12 years have passed. I am dead. I am not human. You took that away from me. I have been put through hell only to get nothing out of it. I wish I never found this board. I hope I die. I want to go back to being a fish now and regularly cut around my neck because it feels like gills.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel, as more Greentexts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.